readers. In this video I'm going to talk about formerly the fallen daughter of the Duke. This is the manga adaptation, so I have the first 4 volumes, and I'm not going to give away everything that happens in the first 4 volumes because that's ridiculous. I'll mainly talk just about the main story and what I'm thinking about it. I also have the light novel on my Kindle. I don't think it's been printed. I don't think it's out in actual print version. I think you can only get the ebook version of the light novel. So I will be checking that out. I've started it, but I'm very, very early on. And so far, in the very early percentage, I think I'm only 5% done or something, it is very much, the manga is very true to the light novel. So I think most of what I say here will probably apply to the light novel, but who knows? There could be things that the light novel has that the manga doesn't. We'll see. Anyway, so formerly the fallen daughter of the Duke. From the back, Claire Martino once had everything: a loving family, a crown prince fiancé, and a hopeful future using her family's inherited magic. Then, in an instant, she lost it all, and the culprit was her own beloved half-sister. As the daughter of the now disgraced Duke, and scorned as the villainess, Claire leaves everything she knows and sets out on a journey to find her true self. But wait, isn't that the plot of the otome game, New Start, Eternal Love, on its hardest route? So, surprise! This is an otome game book. I would not call this a reincarnation book, though. It is, I guess, an isekai, but it's very weird how this one is done. So, unlike most other isekai / reincarnation books, in this one, the main character is embodying the character of Claire Martino, but she's not dead. She is still in the real-time world. We actually do flash back to her, or over to her, where she's hanging out with her friend, and or at least we assume she's not dead, because like I said, it flashes over to her, and we see her hanging out with her friend. She and her friend have discussions about this otome game. The friend asks her about playing on hard mode, and all of this stuff. And so, I don't know, I haven't worked out that part of the story yet that refers to her past life, but as it seems to be throughout these 4 volumes, she's alive, and she seems to slip into this other world when she's asleep. She's been very sleepy lately, and she'll sleep, and her consciousness is in this game world. So it's a little bit different, and I kind of enjoy that it's a little bit different and not the full-on, oh, I got hit by Trucoon and now I'm in another world. Not that I hate those. I actually just started another manga series that was immediately like that. But anyway, we know that's the trope nowadays, right? You get hit by the truck and now you're in a new life, blah, blah, blah. Usually it's a game world. But in this one, she seems to be alive. And I don't know, for whatever reason, when she falls asleep, she ends up in this otome game world. And has the ability, I guess, to change things within the world. So where we first come in is very much, I think, where the character disappears in the game. I don't know. I can't remember that whole part. But essentially, she has been speaking with her, now it would seem former fiancé. They didn't officially break anything off, but it looks like it's headed that way. She's supposed to be going to a dance with him or something with him. Who cares? And he has essentially informed her that she's not going with him, and that his attendant, I think, could escort her there, but that she's not going to go with him. And he's been kind of giving her the cold shoulder for a while. It does get revealed that her younger sister has been spreading around that she is bullying her and has been bullying her for most of their life, and she's this victim, and she comes across as very sweet and cute. Beyond that whole thing of her sister doing that to her, there's also the fact that in this world, to be recognized, there's levels of power, and you essentially have a baptism, and when you touch the water, your color will appear of what level of magic you have. And the sister, I think she got white. I can't remember the color scale now. I think it's like silver, white, light pink. And anyway, it goes down in colors, and the further down you are in the color scale, the less power you have. And when our dear main character, Claire, stepped into the pool of water, it showed that a light pink, so she's lesser on the scale. It's like the main person, she's a disappointment, because that's way too weak of power than what they perceive she should have had. And meanwhile, when her sister steps in for her baptism, she has much more magic. So it's also dealing with the prejudices around that and how she's perceived. And so now she's not as desired by her family as a higher level noble. Now she's seen as a weak magic user. So has no, I guess, selling potential to them. And also, even though she was betrothed to the crown prince beforehand, now that she's seen as less and her sister has this ability, her sister becomes the more desirable person to be with because she has more power, and of course she's beautiful, and she's playing the victim card. Of course, we know, as the readers of this other world, that Claire's not a bully to the sister. The sister is using a ploy. And it gets even darker than that with the sister and the whole magic angle, but that's further on down the line, and I don't want to give everything else away. So what happens in this is Claire, after the prince has turned her down for escorting her, and since she knows what happens in Claire's storyline, she decides to get out of there. She's just getting out of Dodge before they can kill her or do anything else to her and make her a worse of a villainess. So she chops off all of her hair, which long hair is a symbol of nobility, so she cuts it off and flees. And in her leaving, she ends up in another country and ends up with their prince. Just to put it plainly, like, she ends up with another country's crown prince and his gang, and they take her in, and they're gonna work together. And it's also revealed when she steps into another pool as she's helping things out that, hey, guess what? She's got a lot of power. And it turns out that there was a secret, that her mother had left a letter for the father that I don't remember how the sister found out about, but the sister found out about, and so she had their other brother steal the letter and not let the father know, and therefore the mother had asked that Claire be baptized in this other pool of water in her homeland instead of the pools that they have in the other country, but the dad never got that. So when Claire stepped into that pool, it didn't accurately depict her power. And meanwhile, when she stepped into the actual pool that she should have stepped in, it reveals her real power. It turns out she's really powerful, and now she's with this other country. And it turns out they're really nice, and she really likes them, and this whole other part of the story happens, but guess what? Other stuff happens, and I can't talk about it because it's further on down the line. I really enjoyed the relationships in this one. I really also enjoyed the prince that we get to meet. Should be him right there. Sometimes the drawings are really nice, and sometimes they're a little wonky, but it's fine. But Vic, he ends up being a really good character, and he, of course, takes her in, and as it's revealed who she is, he is very accepting of it, and their relationship deepens, and he wants to go back and address this with her father and see where things can go in their relationship, and it's just really nice. And I don't know, huge things start happening in the 4th volume, and that's where I left off because that's the latest one published, and I have had a good time. And I can't wait to see how far the light novel goes, because at this point, I don't know, I just started it, but I liked the manga so much that I wanted to see the original light novel, and it's good so far. I'm having a good time with this one. Again, I like the different twists that this series takes as opposed to other isekai fantasy books. I like that we think she's alive. I don't know what that means for her, though. This is why I'm really confused. What happens if she gets to like a happy ending with Claire, but she's back in her life? Like, is it going to be empowering for her normal conscious life, like the life that she is sleeping through? Is that going to be a turning point for her to where she goes and, I don't know, lives her life differently? I don't understand how that's going to play. You know, like a lot of the other ones, you're not split that way. Let's go back to one of the OG famous isekai stories, which is Fushigi Yugi. We don't really talk about that as much in modern times because like a lot of the modern isekai have like taken over the world. But Fushigi Yugi, Miyaka would go into the world of the book, like bodily go right into that world. She wasn't like conscious in the real world, or asleep, I guess, the real world with her body going in somewhere else. Like she physically went into that world. A lot of modern isekai, they die and they're reincarnated into the game world. What happens if you're not? What happens if part of your conscious is just slipping in to this other world? What does that mean for you? Like, does it change you? If you get your happily ever after in a game world, which is the whole goal, really, of otome games, even though she's technically the villainess, so she's not supposed to get a happy ever after, but I think actually the route they're doing, she does. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. What happens to her real life? Like, she just goes back after the end, and are the feelings that Claire's getting her feelings? Like, is she getting feelings for Vic? And it's not like Claire as Claire, but it's her as Claire. I don't know. Maybe I overthink these things too much. But I think that's a very twisted kind of look to it. Will she end up passing away in the real world and end up fully in the otome game world? Or is it one of those things where, again, she changes her life in the real world and finds her own path and her own love? I don't know. Like, that's what I find intriguing, and I kind of want more of that to be able to understand, because I'm not there yet. But overall, I'm really enjoying this manga series. I think it's really good. There's the light novel. The light novel hopefully is just as good. So far, so good, but again, I'm at the very, very early pages of it, so I don't know for sure. But I'm having a pretty good time. I would recommend Formerly the Fallen Daughter of the Duke. I think it's enjoyable. It's not perfect, but it's enjoyable, and it does make you think about things a little bit differently than a lot of the standard isekai and otome game books. So that's it for this video. Until next time, bye.